Right. Oh, hello, Dustin. Okay, fine. So it's Brown Marcel, and finally got round to recording this interview, the future of China's supply chains. So a bit of background on myself. I've started in the barcode and supply business back in 1982, where I set up my first company in the UK, and then in 1987 I ventured into Eastern Europe looking for new markets, thinking the Berlin Wall would come down, which it did in '89. So I plucked out some state-run employees that I thought would be quite good with entrepreneurial skills, and set them up in business, gave them shares and money and business best practices, and over 5 years I developed and formed the IBCS group with companies in Poland, Hungary, Czech Republic, Slovakia and Bulgaria. We've been number one in that region with barcode solutions right across all horizontals, because it's an emerging market and we're market leaders, so we have to address all markets. A year or two ago I decided to invest in China, so I set up a joint venture here, or rather in Shanghai, as I'm back in England at the moment, and the idea was to focus on supply chain solutions and warehouse management solutions, and maybe some retail, as I feel that there is the biggest need in China for there. I think the supply chain is broken and fragmented, and one of my missions is to try and fix it. So that's probably enough about me. Okay, so answering the question, what is the current state of the supply chain in China? Well, they've got lots of problems. First of all, they've moved from a central command economy, a planned economy even, to more open market. So they're falling a bit under Western influence, introducing such things as culture and empowerment. But these things are very slow to implement, and we're up, of course, against local culture barriers. Other problems are the suppliers don't think of themselves as suppliers. They think they're just contractors. So nobody's really owning the total supply chain, which is why it's fragmented. They've all got their own agenda, and they're not focusing on the customer. Moving data around is another problem, because without accurate information management, the supply chain could break down as well. As far as IT is concerned, a lot of the bigger companies have enterprise resource planning systems, but smaller subcontractors don't. And if they don't have automatic systems, you can't do things like meet sudden changes in demand. The culture issues are very important, because in China there are different values. For example, if you want to build a relationship, whereas in the West you'd have contractual agreements between companies, this doesn't work at all in China. In fact, upfront contracts are a no-no. There's this huge power culture that managers have complete power and control over everything, so subordinates can't question decisions. So the managers are using power, not empowerment, to get things done. And with this face-saving issue so prevalent in China, it's difficult to have rules to maintain these rules, because your major focus is on making sure your boss, or he's focused on making sure he doesn't lose face if anything goes wrong. And this causes transparency to suffer in a business as management becomes more opaque. So effectively, control of information is a sign of power. And it makes it very, very difficult to allocate resources. So question 3, how are supply chains in China changing? Well, I think actually they're probably changing for the worst. There's a lot of state-owned logistic providers coming into the market. They don't have wide networks. They have too much bureaucracy, too few skilled workers, and this culture issue that I mentioned in the previous occasion. And there's still this issue of trying to service outlying regions, like in the west of China. There isn't so much industry, so much business going on, so goods can go out there on trucks full, but come back empty. So a lot of people don't find it economical to ship out there. And there isn't a company I know that has a complete joined up network that can ship from right across China without joining up with a partner. So the biggest change really is e-commerce. E-commerce is expanding exponentially and, causing a huge number of extra packages to be shipped. So in fact, I think it's 10% of all packages being shipped around China are e-commerce. And this is mainly because of the number of e-commerce or companies using e-commerce, because it's so easy to set up a storefront, but it's not so easy to set up the back end to become a fulfillment house. As a result of which, a lot of the e-commerce companies like Alibaba are developing their own express deliveries. And this is causing enormous amount of city congestion. Already cities are pretty much clogged with traffic, but these deliveries are making it almost impossible. So a lot of companies are focusing on city deliveries by setting up their distribution centre just outside each city. And that, of course, means the country isn't very well served. There are, of course, quality issues with damaged and lost parcels, tremendous amount of spoilage, especially in food. There's a lack of security, a very poor 3PLs with late deliveries and without a proper returns processing situation, and lots of negative attitudes of delivery people. So basically it is not a great situation. Answer to question 4, where do I see the future of supply chains in China? Well, actually, there is some hope. The government are wanting to get involved very much and understand what's going on. But of course, there are conflicts of interest in several situations. For example, government are trying to control the number of vehicles going into the cities. But with the extra e-commerce packages, this is exceeding their controls. It wouldn't be a problem if it was just double the number of vehicles, but it's coming towards about 100 times the volume, which is a serious problem. So they're trying to reduce the number of deliveries. For example, use public utilities. They're thinking of using storage boxes in the cities where consumers can go and pick up their packages using an electronic key. And they're thinking of using the metro stations as the distribution centres. Problem with this, of course, is that government would be the only company delivering, and we know how inefficient they are. They're trying to maybe group deliveries, because sometimes customers aren't there when they have their package delivered. We reckon at the moment one delivery boy can deliver 60 parcels a day, but if grouped he could deliver 200. So there are costs and efficiencies there. There's a huge increase in business to consumer from overseas, both ways now, e-commerce, but there's no governance, there's no guarantee, there's no management. What about customs? What about foreign currency transactions? So you've got companies like Amazon and Yehodian.com accounting for about 2,000 million RMB of volume just in overseas transactions alone last year. So government's trying to sort this through rail links overseas. At the moment they're testing a rail link between Chongqing and Hamburg, which would simply be a freight train delivering e-commerce stuff. A single journey would take 18 days, whereas a sea journey would take 36 days. Another thing they're looking at is shipping to overseas ports and then linking in with that nationality's distribution system. At the moment, for example, when they send stuff to the States, the cargo goes out full but comes back empty, because Chinese products are big volume and low in value, and they think these links could lower their costs and give them opportunities to bring back new types of import perhaps to China, such as maybe fresh fruit back from South America. So current e-commerce initiatives at the moment is, I think I mentioned Alibaba before, they're spending 200 billion RMB in testing a large distribution network managed by themselves. But they're finding a lot of technical issues and problems, especially using their single platform and getting all the other companies to integrate their platforms with Alibaba's, and also to develop standard coding. Another initiative from the government is, once again, on the railways. There have been lots of development of high-speed trains, which means building new lines, thus leaving old lines free, as they're doing nothing.